So if you remember last week, we were in the middle of Hopped Up Network Week when the municipal lawn and garden people decided that my cable was fit to go, which is why we did not do anything.
They didn't need it anymore.
Well, yeah, that was apparently incorrect. So we had an impromptu 4-day weekend from the Sunshine State Happy Hour, but we are back with another episode. This is Dave, your host and author of FloridaBeerBlog.com and the Florida Beer Podcast. Come join us every single weekday here at 6 p.m. Eastern for the Sunshine State Happy Hour. I will be joined most of the time with Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Dave.
And I'm really excited. We definitely have two of the better podcasts on the Hopped Up Network with us here today. We have Ken from Better on Draft Podcast, and they are coming to us out of Michigan.
Yes, Michigan.
And then I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we record weekly out of Royal Oak, but now we are, obviously quarantined and remote. So I am in my house in Ypsilanti. In my office, as you can see, I've got a mini fridge and a coffee maker. And of course, you got the beer and coffee. That's all you need.
Perfect. And Tanner is coming to us from Brew Chatt. And that chat is, of course, short for Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is...
Yes, it is.
A surprisingly great state for beer. As I will readily admit, I am firmly in love with the beer scene over in, oh my gosh, I can't believe I completely blanked on it. There's a former pro wrestler. He's their mayor. Come on, help me out, Tanner.
You're talking,
Tanner.
You're talking Glenn Jacobs, the
yes,
mayor
I am.
of Knox County.
Knoxville.
Yeah, Knoxville has a great beer scene.
Knoxville has a phenomenal beer scene, kind of on the other side of the state from you, unfortunately, but it's
not too far, just about 2 hours.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No.
That's not bad at all. So Ken, are we a WWE fan?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I just love the fact that it's like, oh, who's the mayor? Oh, it's Kane. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Dr. Isaac Yankum, DDS.
All right, let's go ahead and see what everybody's drinking. Hopefully we got some good stuff. Steve, what you got?
I'm drinking Sun Viking IPA from 81 Bay.
81 Bay is really funny, and what's funny about them is that they are in Tampa. Steve, I don't know if you know this, but if you look on the can, you notice how the B in Bay is written strangely?
Yes.
That's because the area code for Tampa is 813.
813, yep.
So that beer there, so it's interesting, which is great. Tanner, you keep sipping. Ken, go for it. There we go. Let me make that a little bit bigger, Steve. Pull it up.
Let me let my camera adjust to it.
There you go. You can see the three sort of in that.
Very pronounced.
Yeah.
I get it. I dig it. I got from Roke Brewing mint milkshake IPA.
Okay.
It exists. It is a thing. I do not like IPAs. If you've ever listened to the show, you know I despise them. But this is one of the few that kind of got through. We had, if you guys are familiar with Adam Lambert, he used to work for Dogfish Head.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Adams. We had him in our studio. I think it was the last studio show. They were brought in to help try to fix the mess that is Dark Horse Brewing. So
Nice.
Roke, the company that bought Dark Horse, knowing full well the mess they were getting themselves into, they brought in Adam Lambert to try to fix things. So
yeah, the last Dark Horse I had rust around the top of the bottle. I was like, from the cap, like.
Yeah, I can't.
The beer wasn't even good.
I can't speak too much to it because we never had Dark Horse on ourselves. We've had sales reps, but we heard some pretty horror stories from their employees. But we don't talk outside of school, as they might say. So we don't talk any bad business within our show. So it just doesn't really come to light.
No, absolutely.
I mean, we'll call if we see rust on a bottle, obviously we'll say there's fucking rust on here. But can we swear on this? I already broke the rule if we did.
Valid question.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, go for it. This is already going off the rails. It's perfectly fine. And Tanner, I was just about to call on you again, and you keep sipping right as I'm about to call on you. Jeez.
Oh, well, I can talk and sip. It's what we do.
Oh, cool. So what you got?
Yeah, this is a Tennessee brew. It's from Nashville, Southern Grist Brewing Company.
Okay.
Vaguely distinct, real tasty. It's got Citra and Azaka hops, 6%.
Ooh.
Real, it's just a hazy IPA is all it is. Real refreshing. I wish it was a little warmer outside here. It'd be perfect for a pool day or go in the yard or something like that.
I gotcha. And I'm actually going to make Steve talk to me about this because he's the one who bought this for me, this Fort George Cavaticus
I bought that like a month ago. I have to go to my tap to actually get the stats on it now. It's been so long.
It's basically motor oil and is quite delicious if you're looking for something nice and dark and brutal. So we are coming to the point where the quarantine is starting to be lifted for better or for worse in most states. And I know, Tanner, you actually just released an episode yesterday that was just recorded at a new place that opened up. For the breweries that are in your areas, kind of what's been the game plan? What are people generally doing? Have most of them opened, or are they still sort of self-quarantining?
Each one's kind of had different strokes of what they've went for. Odd story down here, they've remained open pretty much the whole time with walk-up service. Most of our breweries, oddly enough, I guess just the old architecture in Chattanooga, but have a bunch of these roll-up front windows. So they basically just used those and rolled those up and used it as a walk-up to-go window. And so they've been selling to-go stuff. Naked River Brewing, where I recorded that podcast last week, they were gracious enough to invite me in, but actually they've started opening up very limited capacity, but they're massive. I mean, they're in like some sort of old warehouse. And so they've got plenty of room to socially distance in there. So yeah, I was lucky enough for them to let me in. And then across the way from them, Chattanooga Brewing Company, they've been doing to go. Most places have been doing to go with very few shutting down. Even some of like my number one little bottle shop here, they've got more taps than anywhere in town, so I'll go there quite a bit. It's Barley. If you ever make it up to Chattanooga, Barley Tap Room, it's a great spot. Nice. But yeah, they've even been doing to go. You can walk up, they'll give you growlers or whatever. Can't bring your own growler.
Right, buy one of theirs or have one of theirs.
Well, a lot of the places have been really good, even about not even forcing you to buy a growler. Just, hey, we want your business. We'll give you a growler if it means getting your business. So,
nice.
Yeah.
And then, Ken, how are things been going over there? What sort of things have you been hearing?
It's kind of weird because you get to see a different aspect. I don't know if you guys have it in Florida, but we have a handful of like giant Facebook groups filled with people who are really full of themselves. So we get to see, though, where a lot of people are serving and doing either takeout, delivery, whether it's beer only, food, whether a lot of our brewery / distilleries have gone into full hand sanitizer mode. Not many of them are making beer or reselling beer. A lot of them, because of the way that the laws are written in Michigan, a lot of distilleries are also buying old beer to start distilling. We have a really we talked to a lot. One of our hosts, who's been one of the owners of Better on Draft, now lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and so he's been on the show since we've been doing remote stuff. He's like, well, why not come onto the show? So he starts drinking at 4 p.m. With us at 7, and they don't see those types of things, and across the country, they're not seeing these additional things because there's just rules and issues, kind of like how Maui Brewing got in trouble for giving alcohol byproducts away with their beer because they were giving away hand sanitizer with the purchase of beer.
Right.
We're seeing a lot of breweries, not too many have shut down, but we're guessing based on about the 400 or so in the state that we're probably going to be under 300 by the time this is all over by the end of the year. So we're going to see a lot get cut, but being in the restaurant industry myself, I actually lost my job. I was in restaurant tech. I saw numbers that were just, they hurt. They hurt like your whole body and soul because you got to see, that's people's livelihoods.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because on the last episode that you had, you mentioned that a lot of the restaurants, and I would assume the brew pubs or as many breweries that have kitchens attached are sort of trying to tack onto this. They're opening out, but it's only for 25% capacity, and that is, you kind of hit the nail on the head. That's no way for a brewer or for a restaurant to maintain any sort of profitability to
it
remain open.
depends on the state. I know Georgia's, I think, open at 25%. I think Texas is open at 25%. So it kind of just depends on the restaurant. But yeah, you're right. The limited capacity hurts your ability to even run the business in the first place.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to open up at 25% capacity because your overhead's going to cost more than your slim margins that you're already on.
Right.
Well, here in Chattanooga, like Naked River, where I was at the other day, I know those guys pretty well, which is one of the reasons I felt okay going down there. Is I've actually hung out with those guys, and they've got a huge space. I mean, you could play basketball in there and have room for spectators. But they said that they've been doing. I mean, obviously not as good as they could be doing if they were open, but they gave me the idea that they've been doing pretty all right. I mean, they just got in distro, and people in Chattanooga, A, we love Chattanooga. B, we love to drink. This town loves to drink. And so with those combined, we've been buying up a lot of local stuff. Plus, with the tornadoes we've had, a lot of the local breweries are putting a part of their proceeds to the tornado victims. So you've got that to incentivize. So they've said that Naked River at least sort of said and gave me the impression they were doing pretty all right. And then they also sell food, but their food is kind of a perfect quarantine platter, if you will. It's mainly barbecue, but they give it to you. Like if you were to order it in the restaurant, it comes on a giant tray, and it's got, here's a little box of meats, here's a box of fixins, and so it's very easily portioned out. So you can get it to go, and then you've got sandwich meat or whatever.
Nice.
And they seem to be doing pretty all right. And I've not heard. There is one brewery in particular that is posted for sale up here, which was kind of surprising. But it doesn't seem like they're trying to sell the brand. It seems like they're trying to sell their facility.
Gotcha. Interesting. Is there a lot of pressure? Do you feel that a lot of breweries are getting a lot of pressure from the community to reopen, or they've just been reporting a lot of pressure because, obviously Michigan has sort of been in the news more than times for some of the pressure.
We're Florida. We like to look at any other state we can because we're not in the news and the spotlight of things right now.
Come on,
instead of Florida man, it's that woman from Michigan.
Right.
Which I do love the fact, I don't know if you guys saw the Saturday Night Live sketch with Cecily Strong being Gretchen Whitmer. So the next day, Gretchen Whitmer went on to Fox 2 and was holding up a Bell's Two Hearted. And they actually wound up sending Cecily Strong a giant Bell's beer package. Yeah. So I was kind of hoping to see a follow-up, with her with their beer, or the new beer, I guess I should say. But we haven't seen it quite yet. In Michigan, there's a lot of pull for agriculture necessity. There you go. A lot of call for people doing lawns, people doing, there's a lot of inconsistencies and issues that a lot of people are taking with the rules and regulations put on us. Within the restaurant industry, though, I think a lot of people are going to be scared to even want to go back into restaurants when quarantine is lifted. I think a lot of people are going to be more hesitant to those very hands-on things, whether it's restaurants, tattoos, haircuts. I think people are going to be a little more iffy until I think they feel much more safer. If you look at the statistics, even the states that have open at capacity, Tennessee, Texas, and Georgia, none of them are even hitting 20% capacity on average.
Right.
Tanner,
people.
What are you seeing, Tanner?
Well, Tennessee, they're asking us to do 50% capacity, but most people, I've been very, very surprised at how Tennessee has handled this, and especially here locally, is they've been very on top of it. And even with them allowing to open at 50%, most aren't opening. They're opening with 25 to 30. And then even that, the ones that can't open at 25 to 30 are saying, hey, it's not worth our time. to open at 25 to 30%. We know we can go to 50, but we don't think that's safe, and it's not worth our time, so we're going to remain closed. So we are seeing more stuff open, but they're just doing 25 to 30, even though they're allowed to go to 50. And I'm seeing people wear masks, and the only people I'm not seeing wear masks around here are the people that would be most affected. So I guess that's kind of everywhere. I don't know if there's any correlation there. I don't know, but yeah.
It's funny. I don't know if any of you follow Brew Babe on Twitter, but she's from Maine, and they actually had a issue with a smaller brew pub that. What do we
it's a little blown out, but that's the Maine beer company right there.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I finished my last bottle. That's the one thing. Losing my job from my headquarters used to be or was in Boston, still is. I just don't work there. Going to the Fenway beer store, which has an amazing craft beer selection, and buying like Maine Beer Co. There's Zoe, Mean Old Tom, King Titus. Oh, I had my final bottle of Zoe, I think, a couple days ago, and I'm like, I wish I had.
Yeah,
more.
This is one I've not had. It's Woods and Waters IPA.
Don't know that one, especially because they're known for their IPAs, their lunch and dinner.
Yeah, I love
line. Very, very good. Well, that's what people tell me. I don't like IPAs.
I know Steve keeps trying to drag me up to Boston.
We'll get there eventually.
There is a good bottle shop in Fenway that sells bottles by the singles. Great little place, but to be honest, like there's a lot of.
I just think Dave would really enjoy the Sam Adams Brewery tour.
Oh, for sure, because you get a bunch of R&D stuff you can buy there too.
That, and if you get there about 10 a.m., you're with a bunch of families, and the fathers don't want to drink in front of their kids. So if you're not with your kids, you're guzzling down pitchers of beer at first thing in the morning. It's amazing.
I'll write that down for sure.
I will get there. I will get there eventually. But interestingly enough. So one of the things that she posted was a brewery / restaurateur that owned Sunday River Brewing Company and decided to buck the system, open his restaurant up full capacity. They even had a state representative or senator who was there, posting pictures on Facebook saying, so sure. Never tasted so good to basically break the law, defy everything. And then the next day they basically had their liquor license pulled and they are now closed for the time being. Have you heard of anything else like that happening? Do you think that might be happening? Tanner, it sounds like that is not the case because people are being responsible except for the people that would be most affected. Ken, I don't know how things are around you.
Yeah, people have been being pretty responsible down here. I can't tell you anybody that I know of around here that that's kind of just said screw it and went for it. My preferred bottle shop I mentioned earlier, Barley, they're kind of on one of the main streets. They're on MLK here. Really popular, busy spot normally. They got in trouble when this first started because their employees were out front having a cigarette, and the head of the beer board came in and tried to find them. They're like, "We work here." But other than that, yeah. And our beer board's a little ridiculous. So,
we were excited that beginning of the year, the liquor control, the MLCC, it seemed like there was a lot of fixing some of these older laws, like the 90s craft beer laws that kind of came through. We were seeing a lot of them being fixed, but now, I haven't seen any liquor stores or not liquor stores, bars, breweries, liquor stores, whatever, lose their license. I've seen it across the country. But I haven't been able to see any type of issues. I know there's a lot of turning a blind eye to the legalities as long as you're not being stupid as all hell. Like opening up to the public at 100% capacity. But if you're selling growlers to go, like Michigan had this really weird law that you could sell beer to go as long as you sold hot food. So I couldn't buy like a bag of Better Made potato chips, but I could buy some heated up Hot Pockets.
Yeah, I saw a lot of places here doing that. I can't remember if it was hot food or just food, but you had a bunch of places that were doing things like, oh, you get a free bag of chips with a 6-pack or whatever.
Or you pay $8 for a bag of chips and a 6-pack comes with it.
Yeah. There was one place, they passed a law here in Tennessee. I don't know if they did this like nationwide or if it was just a Tennessee thing, but basically making it legal for restaurants to just sell anything, the counters, the doorknobs, anything. And one place here, just give them a shout out, the Bitter Alibi. It's a great brunch spot, but no brunch and no bar service. You can't go hang out. So they were just trying to liquidate stuff. They were like, hey, you can come get a can of beer and a roll of toilet paper and a baked potato for $7, and just weird deals. I'd like, those were the glory days of the quarantine,
Well, and you guys have to combat with those crazy, blue laws that date back to Prohibition time and
what in that
Florida, like the Wild West. We're 4 a.m. bars and
yeah. See, I would love that, and I'm hoping. I'm a glass half full guy. There's always at least half a beer in that glass, and I'm hoping through some of this, it makes us a better world to be in, and especially beer wise, as we've got delivery beer now, to go beer. I'm a photographer in my day job, so I've been walking around at night with the streets abandoned and getting some great nighttime photography street shots of the breweries and different stuff like that. And because they're all still lit up, it's gorgeous. But I was just walking around with beer, not even in a koozie, just walking down the street. Woo, they passed me. They don't stop and say anything. He's alone. He's minding his business. So what if he's drinking a beer? But I'm hoping that through this, it makes some of the higher ups realize like, hey, as long as they're paying taxes and Uncle Sam's getting his due, why can't we have to go and delivery options for alcohol?
Well, I guess the big question is, once this is over, how fast or how vehemently do you think the fuzz will be on going back to reinforcing the old laws? Is that going to be something that they're just going to continue to not care about? Do you think that other people will try to raise up and make this permanent, or do you think that the hammer's going to fall down pretty fast?
I think the cat's out of the bag. I think it's going to be hard to press people back into that box to say like, no, you can't take that.
I agree with you. I think there's going to be a huge law change because you have a case in point now to where those who are looking to get their law changes can go be like, hey, we did this for that much time and nothing.
Right. It
knock on wood
for this long.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the prime time that shitheads are going to be shitheads. Like people just acting stupid because, I mean, they can. They think they can. They think that nothing bad's going to happen to them. It's just the way that I think it's going to give you the opportunity to make these new laws or make these laws permanent. And I think there will be some flack back because there's still, in regards to the very religious conservative, and I'm talking like hyper religious conservative people who are like, we still have people in Michigan legislature that are like prohibition. Like they want alcohol gone. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the city you live in probably has at least one brewery that's either, big or is the local bar that's doing good.
There's at least one speakeasy in every city out there right now. There's got to be just one bar that opens up, has like a bookshelf. You go behind it, secret password.
I know of 2 in Michigan right now that are open that you can go to on Friday and Saturday nights.
Maybe that's what I should start doing. I'm technically unemployed right now. Maybe that.
I can only imagine what just the amount of money you're going to get fined, because whoever gets caught is going to be made an example of.
Yeah, hard. Which, by the way, this Maine beer, little disappointing. It's a little chlorophenol-y.
Really?
A little bit. Let me see if I can. I was trying to shade that a little bit, but
there we go.
Really fine print.
Yeah.
All their beers have been really, and just slightly, and I'm really susceptible to chlorophenol in a beer, but yeah, just a tad bit rubbery.
So I will give this question to all of you before I move on to actually talking about your podcast, because I do want to give you some time for a little shameless self-promotion. Have you been, and I will readily admit this, have you been to a new place, had a beer or a flight, and you've just had to sneak off to the bathroom to dump as much as you can because it just is not good?
I'll go first and tell you no. No beer is too bad to waste. I have suckered down 2015 Goose Island Infected.
Ooh.
Like the coffee that just tastes, it tasted like sour apple coffee.
God.
It's a rarity for me to pour beer. And the only time I pour beer is when I know I'm driving and I can't drink anymore, and it's usually a show night and nobody else is drinking anymore, and I'm like, God damn it, we opened too much. No, I cannot pour beer. Beer, liquor, drinks, like I stomach it.
Okay.
I can't. The only time the only time I've done it at a place was, I'll call them out. I call them out on my show because I'm not calling them out to be mean. I'm calling them out because it's like, make your shit better. Please,
Okay.
it's constructive criticism. But Wonderlinger Brewing here in town, they've got a really bad problem with same problem, chlorophenol. They've got a little too much chlorine going on in their beer, and their Pilsner gets pretty gnarly with it. I mean, it smells like a tire.
That's not okay.
And that one, and I've given them a couple chances. I've had it 3-4 different times, and I distinctly remember every time I've had it, I've left about half of it sitting at the bar.
I mean, if their Pils is bad, like, you know, that's the go-to beer for you to try, like a Pils or a lager.
I mean,
like
you can't hide shit in it.
No, you could tell, like, if somebody has an amazing lager and a terrible pastry stout or something like that, you could tell, like, all right, well, this just didn't work for them. But they're, you know, as you said, Tanner, you can't hide behind those brands. And what I'm excited for is that after this is all done, I'm hoping we see a lot of lagers. Like, I'm hoping 2020 turns into the year of the lager, because
I would love that.
You ain't selling beer, so you might as well, you know, take that extra 15 days. And
you are not the first person that has mentioned that not only are a lot of people taking the extra time to lager, but everybody's been releasing more. And just, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think it'd be beautiful.
Well, and I mean, lager is a great summer beer too. Clean, crisp, easy to drink. Like, that's the beer you're going to want to sell in the summer, where you can easily market growlers to go of that.
Oh yeah.
I want to buy Budweiser right now.
Yeah, I turned Steve on to the greatest movie of all time, Kings of Beers, which is about a Budweiser brewing competition to see which Budweiser brewery brews the best Budweiser.
It's a great documentary.
Horrible.
What?
Painful to watch.
I loved it. I am under, and I will fully admit that Budweiser is probably one of the best breweries in the world. Because of what that documentary proves. Because the whole goal is that Budweiser you got out of St. Louis needs to taste the exact same as if you got it in Shanghai.
And
the exact same.
I'm not saying their brewmasters don't have skill. They do have skill to match that beer as perfectly as they can. It's just the same beer, and it's just
not good.
We did a macro challenge 2 years ago on 4th of July around the Brew Chatt parts. We took every macro lager we could find, and the one that came out number one, Mick Ultra. We Pepsi challenged it, just put them in solo cups and blind taste tested them, and we're talking among like 3 or 4 people. We took the average, and Mick Ultra came out on top.
We used to do segment 3 when Matt Bush was on our show. We used to do 5 questions with Matt Bush. I think it's like a Conan O'Brien type spot. And the third question was always a mystery beer. And he would bring us some of the worst beers I have ever, like Natty Daddy, like
Steel Reserve.
Yeah, and like we would be able, like, our goal was to try to deduce it, because some of us have never had the beers before, so we would ask questions about like location. He would show us like the paper bag around so we could tell if it's a tall boy or a small can or a 40. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. For episode 40, Did you guys drink 40s?
No, and I'm kind of ashamed to say that we didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
That's genius.
Put it down for episode 40.
No. The fact that I didn't even think about, we're at episode, we just recorded 247.
Yeah,
and
you got to wait till 340.
Thought of that, I'm kind of ashamed of.
I will say, in terms of 40s, my college was always full of St. Ides Special Brew, which was always colored and flavored, and it was not special.
You see, mine was always Disney cheap as possible. So the Beast, good old Milwaukee's Beast is where you went to every time.
Steel Reserve and Genesee Cream Ale.
Steel Reserve.
I love Genesee Cream Ale. I can't.
I won't even get Genesee Cream Ale at Walgreens for $3.99 a sixer.
Yep.
God. Just as good as it sounds.
The first day we had Founders in our studio, he brought us KBS, and we mixed KBS with Milwaukee's Best to make the Kentucky Beast Stout. And
the Founders
no, he had it with us. He was laughing. He was having a blast. Yeah, we definitely do not take ourselves seriously, if you can't tell.
Yeah. I want to do the quick recipe because my grad school beer of choice, they always this place, what was it? Rockabilly Deli always did the summer beer, which was what was it? PBR, vodka, and lemonade. It went down. It went down.
And now they have Natter Days.
Oh my God. Natter Days. There's another one. I was just trying to find it. I got to find this beer. I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to go on the Sisyphean hunt for this awful monstrosity that I just saw today. But let's chat a little bit about the shows, because you both managed to go to like 1-2 hours, which I can't. But then again, I usually don't drink a whole lot on the show, on the podcast, which is perfectly fine. So I guess Ken, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Better on Draft and the monstrosity of a crew that you have with you, and all the things that usually get going.
Yeah, so we've had 218 weekly episodes. We've had some half episodes, some episodes that have actually ran longer than those 2 hours. I got a chance to do like special half episodes with Dallas Beer Talk, Tap That AZ. I
had him on the show. He's a great guy.
We had him on the show a couple weeks ago. Holy shit, a whole month ago. Yeah, Eric's a really good guy. I flew down to Phoenix to go see a wrestling pay-per-view, and I met up with him. He got us an interview at a place in Tempe, and then we wound up.
What was it called?
The Beer Shop.
Okay.
Or Beer Shop Co. or something like that. It's somewhere probably in around episode 170 in our archives. So we started the show, me, Dan, and Nick, who you'll see on the remote shows. And throughout the show, we've definitely progressed, found our niche, found what we like. And the one thing that we do like, as much as we don't like, we're not cicerones. We're not here to, tell you the best things about the beer. Like I had to look up the word you said earlier, Tanner, about chlorophyll. Like
a tire smell or taste, or like when you're inflating a rubber raft, it's that smell or taste.
Yeah, like I had to look that up. We're not, but what we do is we tell stories. We tell stories and we share the news. So our job here is to kind of promote local and non-local breweries. So we've had brewery, like we had Unibrew on. We had Cerveza Cancun in studio, New Belgium, Rogue Ales. We had John Mayer in studio. So, just to name drop a few here and there.
Good for you.
What we do is we love just telling stories and talking beer. And what a lot of people talk, like, they're like, how are we going to do 2 hours? Because nobody figures out how we're going to do 2 hours. And then it goes by like that. And you're like, holy shit, I want to do more. We've segmentized our show for that. The first segment is really an interview. If the interview is going good, we'll stop, we'll reset, crack open some more beers and we'll go into segment 2. If not, we'll hit the news. And then if the news is done and we'll go into a game in the third one. And sometimes we'll play stupid games. Like we'll go on cameo.com and say who's worth more, Corey Feldman or what's the Rudy? Stranger Things. Why can't I think of his name? Also in the Goonies, Sean Astin. So it'd be like, who costs more to get a cameo? Is it Corey Feldman or Sean Astin?
Nice.
And everyone tries to figure out, and there's no like prize or anything like that, but it's fun little entertaining stuff that we like to do to kind of keep things going. So that's how we get to the 2-hour mark. But there are shows where someone will sit down, like we had Travis Fritz from Old Nation, which I don't know if you guys know what M43 is, but it is literally a beer that saved a brewery. This brewery was about to go out of business, and he took a chance on a New England IPA. This guy is a straight German style brewer, makes probably one of the best alt beers I've ever had, a Vienna lager that's amazing. Like, this guy knows what he's doing, and he wound up on a dare, should I say, in a Facebook group, made a New England IPA because there was no New England IPAs in Michigan, and just kickstarted it in Michigan to the point where he has to contract out that one beer because his entire tank setup was dedicated to that beer and distro. And then he was still
2014, 2015. It started as a video web series. And then it was, I'm a media professional. I do photography, audio. So I've got the skill set to do all this anyway. And I like beer. So I need to make a reason so I can drink as much as I like to. And, so yeah, developed the podcast. It kind of started as I just like to talk to people. I like to drink beer. I know how to do all the technical side of it. And then, yeah, we get a lot of local talent, musicians, comedians. We had the mayor on, had a couple beers with him. That was great. Yeah, my whole thing is I like to get people onto Brew Chat. We'll sit and generally go for an hour and a half to 2 hours. We've got a loose format, but it's not a format as in like, all right, now on to this, it's more of just a conversational format, but I've got a format written in a notebook so I know what to move on to. So first kind of part's a interview, and then, if that sort of lulls down, I'll get to some news topics and things. But yeah, if you're a local musician or brewery or whatever, I love to talk to people and find out what kind of beers they like, what gets them into beers. And then I'll generally ask my guests beforehand what kind of beers they like. And I'm sponsored by a bottle shop, so I'll just go down there and grab some stuff. And Riverside Wine and Spirits, located on Manufacturers River. But yeah, so I'll go down there and get a couple things that I know they'll like, and then get something that they've probably never tried, but I think they'll like it. But it's out there. It's something weird, just throw it in there. So yeah, I travel up to Nashville a little bit, travel down to Atlanta a little bit, do a little bit of collaboration with the Bitch Beer podcast, Caroline from there. So yeah, we like to cut up. We don't take it too seriously. We've got a new game that we started up. I'll spread this term to you guys, flavor text. It's something that I'm pretty sure we started, like at least coming up with that term, but it's all this bullshit they put on the sides of bottle. It's flavor text. And we like to have a fun game. And I wish I had my iPad set up here, but I've got a soundboard where draw a card, and each of these cards has let me see here. Yeah, it has like names written on it. These are all impressions or voices. And it's got corresponding music on a soundboard. So you draw a card, get whoever it is, John Voight from Anaconda.
Jeez.
And then you read said flavor text with the music.
Oh, so that's hysterical.
That's kind of our little schlocky game. But yeah, it is what it is.
Okay. So when you go to the bottle shop next, this is what I wanted you all to see. This is raspberry lime Keystone Light.
Oh, color me intrigued.
That's ridiculous.
That's a Walmart, I think.
I mean, I could probably get that, but I can't get the Yingling right under it.
You all ever have a Rockdale?
No, never heard of it.
Rockdale was a I did the research at one point, but me and my co-host Jared got obsessed with this beer because it was cheap as hell. It was like $4.99 for a sixer of Tall Boys.
Okay.
Shouldn't be as good as it is, but it was amazingly well balanced. And we would buy it for the show to rinse our glasses in between tastings because it was so perfectly balanced. It was
That's
amazing.
funny.
And then it was just a contract brew that Walmart had going on. And then they got rid of it because I guess they realized it was too good. And then I talked to some rep friends. They're like, oh, yeah, they've moved that up brand. It got moved up brand. So I don't know what beer it is yet. I've not discovered that. It's still out there, but they just increased the price on it. Stop calling it Rockdale Light.
That's funny. Well,
great beer.
I can definitely tell you with the Yingling, there's a brewery in Tampa, the Yingling Brewery in Tampa, and they're actually in the planning stages for building a Yingling hotel.
Ooh.
That's next to the brewery. So when you come down, you may have a beer place to stay. But I will leave you both with the last question that I've been asking everybody. And I am curious, since you are nowhere near us, kind of what you say. Obviously, with the quarantine, we've had to make a lot of changes. Breweries have had to do things that are a little outside the norm for them. But as we get closer to finishing this up, as we get back to normal, as life resumes again, what are some changes, or what is a change that you have seen a brewery make that you want to be permanent? You want to be just how breweries function from here on out?
Good
Wow.
question.
Yeah, I mean, I can make a wish list for a lot of other states like Minnesota to have to-go beer. Well, to-go cans and bottles from a brewery. You could do growlers and howlers and stuff. My dad went to the Surly Brewery, and bless this man, my dad goes on trips every single year, and he'll always bring back beer wherever he goes. And he went to Nickelbrook over in Lincoln. I think it's Lincoln. I think it's somewhere in Nebraska. And the guy was the brewer, so he doesn't even manage the front. Saw my dad peeking in the glass, trying to get in, and wound up pouring like 10 crawlers for him.
Oh.
And he's like, I don't know how to run the POS. I got to call someone. And my dad's like, all right, whatever. I don't care. I came in at like 10 o'clock and you served me. Well, to go, serve me.
Nice.
What I would love to see to go, or love to see stay post-COVID, I mean, just a full-on relaxation of carry out and delivery. I would love to be able to add these types of restaurants, bars, breweries to Uber Eats. Well, not Uber Eats. Fuck those guys. Any type of local delivery site. Or add more liquor stores. Like, we don't have Drizzly here in Michigan. We don't have any type of true liquor store delivery service. So I would love to see something like that, to where it allows for people, if they want to go out, but give them an opportunity to just order from home.
Nice. Dinner.
Yeah, I would say to go and delivery liquor is a great thing. I don't know why that's not a thing. I mean, if you've got somebody at home or a group of people at home grilling out, they run out of beer, you would much rather them call delivery and get a drop of beer as opposed to getting in their car when they're a little buzzed and then going out. So that, yeah, I would say to go carry out stuff. And then I really like, we don't have a situation here in Tennessee or Chattanooga, really. I mean, even in Nashville, like on Broadway, it's like you finish your drink and then you leave.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like, hey, I'm going to take this and just go next door. Like they have that in Vegas.
Like a herd of drunken buffalo, like we all hope.
I love walking around somewhere with a beer in hand or a cocktail or whatever. And so a lot of places here have been doing to-go cocktails, and there's a little gray area there where they're like, can we drink these in the streets? Because they're in a Capri Sun pouch. And I would like to see those Capri Sun cocktail pouches stick around. I think those are pretty neat. Yeah. Being able to take a Capri Sun that gets you a little lit and walk around town with it.
I was in Wrigleyville for a bowling tournament. I was in Chicago for a bowling tournament. Went to Wrigleyville the next morning to get drunk. And the Goose Island Brewery actually gave me a kitty cup of the rest of my beer. to allow me to walk out with it. So I agree with you, Tanner. I think there's possibilities for places to have open intox laws be relaxed. We have two places in particular in Michigan. We have a area called Eastern Market, which is the oldest outdoor concurrent running market garden, vegetables, fruits. That's in downtown Detroit. And then we also have a place called Greektown, which is a nightlife area, casino, all that stuff. I would love to be able to have you Fridays and Saturday nights, you close the streets down and you can walk around the streets, walk from bar to bar, and change the rules up a little bit. But
yeah,
I think we're definitely, there's probably state laws that forbid the city from doing it, and I don't think there's any way that's going to pass a state law here anytime soon. But I mean, if we want to go big or go home, I would love open intox laws for specific areas where it means.
We need our own John Brown. That's a deep cut Civil War reference.
Or for me, I just go back to Las Vegas again because it's beautiful. Gentlemen, thank you so much for appearing on the Sunshine State Happy Hour tomorrow. We've been working with the people that are on the Hopped Up Network. The Hopped Up Network themselves are going to be on tomorrow's show, and they're right across the river from one of my favorite breweries in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to beg and plead for them to send me some stuff from Yards Brewing. So I'm not too proud to do that. Sunshine State Happy Hour is powered by Florida Beer Blog. You can find us at floridabeerblog.com. We're on pretty much everything at Florida Beer Blog. The Florida Beer Podcast is probably found on the same podcasting apps that you're going to use to download Better on Draft and Brew Chat, both of which you should definitely do, especially if you're a Star Wars fan and need to download that latest episode of Brew Chat, Steve. Hint, hint.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay, I go more this way, so personally, you know what? Anyways,
may the force be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Thank you for sticking around, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me.